Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Saturday, guys. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. Got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Saturday, guys. So I want to piggyback off of an email that I was responding to someone. Are you in a season where you're feeling like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? I feel so lost. Like, where do I fit? Now, I'm not there in this season of my life, but I've been there a long time ago, and for a very, very, very short time. So I want to expand on that really quickly. All right, so for the average person, not everyone, of course, definitely not myself, but for the average person, they tend to follow societal norms. Okay, so once you graduate high school, you go to college, you find your mate in college, potentially, or, around that age, you get married, you graduate college, you have children, you start your career path, you have children, and you work a 9 to 5 or whatever, and you retire and you sit in your rocking chair and meet Jesus at some point. Or wait on Jesus, I should say. But during that path, at some point, you tend to question yourself. Who am I? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And see, when you follow that path, and again, I'm not saying that anything is wrong with that path, right? It's just societal norms. It's just not my thing, but it's societal norms. So there's nothing wrong with it. But where's the space in between all of that you identify who you are, what is your purpose, right? Unless you've identified with that and you discovered that being a mother maybe is your purpose, that can be your purpose, right? But I'm talking about people who know that there's something more, there's something bigger, but you just have never been able to identify with it because it just was one thing after another, of course, of just life happening. So I was corresponding with a young lady who she's 32, and she's in this place where she did everything that way. She got married, she had children, and the marriage did not work, and now she's in this place where who I don't even know who I am. And I just want to say to anybody, it's okay. It's okay to not know what am I doing right now, right? It's okay if you haven't figured your life out, regardless of how old you are. I don't care if you're 20, 32, or 62, or 82. It's okay. The reason why I say it's okay is because do you know how many people leave this earth and have never, ever figured their lives out because they went with just the norms, or they just never really, put themselves first. And they left life and never, ever figured out where they fit, where they belong, what they want to do, etc., etc. So it's okay. Don't allow society to put these... I'm sure it's easier said than done. I'm just so solid and have been for all of my life in this area, but I am sensitive to know that this is not everyone's story. A lot of people have been conditioned, especially if you came from excuse me, families of certain structures and things like that. Like, at 21, you should already be, graduating college. At 23, you should be married, have all your children from 25 to 30, etc. Like, I get it. So these individuals will have a more challenging time breaking out these rules and breaking out other people's boxes, even if that is their own parents. Well, sometimes too, you gotta understand that parents love their children, so it's almost like even if they put that type of pressure on you, it's almost of just trying to be sure that you don't go through some of the things that they went through. So they may probably felt like, well, if I had done this, if if I done this the right way, then I wouldn't be going through this. So I'm going to make sure that my child don't go through this. You're going to be careful by allowing your parents to live through you. I was talking to a friend of mine who's from Liberia, and she was telling me that this is very common. I don't know if it's throughout Africa or just Liberia, but she was saying that it is almost as common as, I don't know, but you have to either be a lawyer, a doctor, or et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's no wiggle room. That could just be within her family. I really don't know. So I'm just trying to make a point here. But you have to be very, very careful by trying to fit in a box that your parents have designed for you. And it's not a bad thing. They love you. They just want the best for you. But that may not be your path. So here you are in law school, right? But you feel like God is pulling you one way. God is saying, well, I mean, yeah, you will make a lot of money, but that's not going to fulfill you. I need you here. I need you doing this. But you're trapped. You're trapped in this box of what someone else thinks, or just, again, societal pressures and societal norms. Being a person who has never, ever followed societal norms, ever, truly ever, I can't tell you how freeing it is. I can't tell you how freeing it is to just march to the beat of your own drums, right? You can't fit everybody in one box. And those of you who try, you need to really be really careful there, seriously, because you will mess around and have people ignoring the call of God on their lives in a certain way because you want to be judgmental because they haven't done this way and this way. Well, you did it that way and you're not even happy. So you're trying to force marriage down people's throat and you're miserable. You're trying to force children on everybody and your kids are driving you crazy. And if you had the chance to change it, you love your children, but you would have waited or you would have just never had them. But you can't see that now or think about that now because they're here and you love them to death. But if you know that, wow, I would have waited, or why are you trying to force that on other people? And sadly, a lot of people take to that because you're not really solid in who you are. So for the one brief moment that I had that, I guess, kind of like that question mark, trust me, it was very short. I think it might have been like, I don't know, 6 months, something like that. And I just felt like, I don't know. No, you know what? Let me backtrack. I just had a revelation. I was having a conversation with a narcissist, literally a narcissist, seriously. This might have been about 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And I remember just saying, I was having a conversation with a narcissist, and I was just saying that there is something more. I just can't put my finger on it, but I have to go and find it. I just have to follow the path that I feel like God is saying, move this, move that way, do this, do this. I cannot tell you. You want me to explain it in words, but I can't explain it in words because it's not explainable. God is supernatural. I just know that there's a feeling within me that says there is more. And you cannot settle here. So you have to be very careful because when you're trying to explain things to people sometimes about what God wants you to do, people are not going to get it. It's a feeling. So when they don't understand or get what you're trying to say, well, I can't do this, or I'm not ready for this yet, right? You're going to have to be so solid in who you are that you can't get caught up in that. I turned down 2 engagements because I knew it was hard because you don't hurt anybody's feeling. And it wasn't a reflection to the gentleman's. Like, we're still friends to this day, seriously. But I just knew that it was more. It was just not the get married and have children and, retire and sit on your rocking chair and wait on Jesus. That was not it for me. And it's not that for a lot of people. Really, but they're doing it, and that's why they're miserable. So, regardless of who says, it's hard out here to find good men and find a husband, and here you had 2 proposals and let's say here. Right? I don't need that to complete me unless God says it's time, it's the season, it's the one. I didn't feel that then. So I'm not going to just conform to your way of thinking or societal norms. Because no. It's a feeling that you have to have. You got to know when you're in a certain season. And even when you can, sorry guys, even when you can explain it in words, you got to go with that feeling and with that prompting that I don't know what God wants me to do in this season, but I just know that there's a feeling that he's saying it's not time to quote unquote settle, but instead keep climbing, and at some point, whatever that thing that I feel that there is, I will eventually run into it. Well, it takes faith, and it takes a certain kind of individual, right? Backtrack really quickly. I went left. So I was having this conversation with a narcissist, and I'll never forget the narcissist said, as I was explaining this, like, I don't know what it is, but there's something that I have to go after. And the narcissist said, I just think that is just sad. But you see how narcissists can, okay, so they're very sarcastic, right? So they know, they have a word game on fleek. So if you're having this conversation with someone, obviously that means you're still kind of shaky in that area, right? I mean, you're solid, but you're still shaky because you really don't know, but you know. And the narcissist will take any opportunity that they feel like you may be struggling, and they're going to hit you with something in hopes to really cause you to rethink it. So it's almost like, oh, well, you think that's sad, but you're over here, you're really, really miserable. Like, seriously. Like, I'm looking at your life, and you're truly miserable, but you're telling me that because there's a path that I feel that God has me on, and because I refuse to just marry, right, or do this or do that, and I choose to follow this path even though it's not of the norm. You think that's sad? What I think is sad is that you're sitting here following societal, and again, there's nothing wrong with following societal norms, but this person was miserable. How are you miserable, literally, and you're trying to force your miserable beliefs and lifestyle on me? But yet, even though I'm still trying to, and again, this is a long time ago, 10, 12 years ago, and I'm still trying to figure what this thing is, this nudge that God has in me, I can't put it in words, but I'm fulfilled. That's why I can turn down 2 engagements, because I'm already fulfilled. I just can't put it in words, but I know what I know in my feelings. So fast forward, of course, by me not following anybody's rules except God. I kept pressing. And then, tap in. I found that sweet spot, which is purpose, which is calling. No regrets at all. At all. The difference now is that when God sends additions to your life, there will only be additions, beautiful, sweet additions, but additions, not completions. So that hole, right? That hole that a lot of people feel like, I just don't know who I am. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I fit. I don't know. It's purpose that you're seeking. Nothing will fulfill you. Not a fine man, not a fine woman. Nothing will fulfill you except purpose. When you are walking in your purpose solo, that is when everything that is meant for you will find you. Most importantly, you will know what fits into your life, right? There's one of those gentlemen, who, guys, I promise you, I'm nowhere near the phone. Please just let it ring until it ends. It's like all the way over there. One of these gentlemen, who I still respect immensely, right? He's still checking for you, girl, right? I'm just saying. I'm just making a point here. But the point is, I could still say, oh, wow, well, I found God, I'm in purpose, and now that I'm happy in purpose, and I'm just going to accept a proposal because I know someone else is like waiting for like 25 years, and it would just look good on paper to say, all right, no, child, please. So you arrive to purpose, which is fulfilling, just to go backwards and do something because society says it and you know that's not from God, if you will, just to go from fulfilling to miserable. We ain't doing that. What God has for you is for you, and you will know it. It will hit your spirit. Those of you who are tied up, and my friend, if you're listening, you already know I admire you immensely. I respect you immensely, but you're not. I'm just saying, right? If whatever is for you will find you, but it has to find you when you have already identified who you are. So when you're looking for this thing and you're trying to figure yourself out, you will never figure that out until you walk solo and you align yourself with purpose. You will never know where you fit until you align yourself with purpose. So you got to forget everything that society is putting on you. Oh, if you're a woman and you're not married by 25, you're an old maid. If you don't have children by 25, you're listen here. Think about if that happens to be you. Be honest with yourself. And this ain't for everybody now, because some people took that path and they wouldn't change it. Like it's the perfect life for them, seriously. But I'm talking about the individuals who you took that path. You took the first engagement ring just because your mama wanted grandkids, or all your friends were getting married, and you just heard everybody say that the first man that proposed to you, regardless if he's not from God, you better take that ring, honey, because nobody marries for love anymore. They marry for finances. We ain't got time for that up over here. But to those individuals, be honest with yourself. Did you really, really marry the person who you know God had for you? Did you really wait to see if God would even send you someone? Or did you take the first proposal for whatever reason? Society says that you get pregnant, you got to marry this person. Or if this person has financial such as you got to marry this person. Be real with yourself. Be real with yourself. You love your children and you will chop somebody's nose off for them. But be real with yourself. So for the group of the individuals like myself who decided to walk a path based on the life that you felt like God has for you, and God wanted you to press more towards purpose and calling. I'm not speaking about career now, right? Speaking more towards purpose and calling, and you finally tapped in and identified that self, identified that place. You know without a doubt you made the right decision. Because you're so fulfilled within your purpose and your calling. And that everything that comes to you, that man, that woman, even that child, everything is a beautiful, beautiful addition. But that's a very small percentage of people. Most people, that's not an easy path, because you have to be so solid in knowing who you are that when you hear certain things, that thing can fall off of you like seriously, like oil and water. like it doesn't bother you. Now, when somebody comes to you and says, well, why didn't you have children? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you finish college? All that other stuff. Right? If it triggers you, then there's something there you got to work on. Have you solidified truly who you are? Because see, when there's nothing that here's what's crazy. You guys know I don't have children by choice. Respectfully. To anybody who, but I don't have that. Like, I always heard people say things like people or like, I guess parents or just people in general would say things to him like, oh, well, you're 30, you don't have children yet. Yeah, what's wrong with you? Or why don't you have? I can honestly tell you that has not been that hasn't been the trajectory of my life. Like people, and I don't know. I guess it's because people can identify and realize like, wow, this person has really found that sweet spot and their life is successful on this level. So they don't kind of try to push a certain narrative on you, if you will. So I don't deal with that. Honestly, I don't. But I know a lot of people do. You have people in your ear who are saying to you, why aren't you married yet? Why haven't you had children? Why haven't you gone back to school? Why haven't you did such and such? And you're really, really struggling with that thing. You're only struggling because you are not solid in who you are. You will get there. You will get to that point. To the point that you look at people and you be like, you sitting over here asking me questions and you got a whole miserable life up over here. Like really? Truth be told, I'm looking at you and I'm thanking God that I didn't take that route because you're over here miserable and now you're trying to make me miserable and trying to get me to accept certain things that you did. No, I'm following the path that God has designed for me. And I'm solid, period. Most importantly, fulfilled. And everything after this is just a beautiful, truly a beautiful, beautiful addition that is received properly because it's not manipulated. So I just wanted to say to those of you who are struggling, you might be at that point where you're like, I don't know who I am. Where do I fit? What should I be doing? I'm 30. I'm 25. I'm 40. I'm 45. I'm 65. I'm 74. I'm 94. And I just don't know. This is why it's crucial that even when you take that route of, college, husband, children, career, etc., this is why it's so important that you still find some kind of time to tap into your purpose. Because do you know how many people right now who went that route and that the marriage did not work out? All right, I can give you 10 to the top of my head right now. Right? Well, I'm not even doing all that, but you get the point here. If it doesn't work out, right? Prayerfully it does, but if it doesn't work out, who are you? Who are you? See, when you base your life based on a partner, right? When you see it as my partner is not a beautiful addition, it's a completion and I can't live without you. What happens when that person leaves you? Right? On the flip side, and the contrary, it's like, listen, you leave me, you listen. I'm going to drop to my knees for a couple of weeks, right? I'm going to go through some things, but give your girl about a solid month and you're out of here. Right? A person should not complete you. You should already be completed. A marriage, partnership, all that is beautiful. Especially when you wait on God. It's absolutely beautiful, rewarding, and fulfilling, but it should not complete you. You're putting people in God's spot. Only God can complete you. Only purpose can complete you. But if you're, and not only with that, not only if the marriage doesn't work out, what happens when, look at Judge Lynn Toller, right? I was reading her post the other day and she was just saying how she just retired several years ago. And she had this whole itinerary of how her and, she calls him Big E, how her and Big E would spend the next amount of years, traveling and doing crazy stuff and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now, after being married for 30 years, right? She's only 63. That's young. That's young. And then she's like that fit young, right? So nothing's guaranteed. So even if you did it the correct way, right? Thank God she identified her purpose and her calling, because I mean, I'm sure she's going to grieve and all that stuff for a very long time. But she's always been very candid about relationship and marriages should not complete you. It should be an addition. Always. She's always spoke on. She respects her husband immensely. She loved that man. I mean, the way she speaks about him, she said because she's very vocal about her past traumas from childhood and her father, etc., etc. But she speaks about how her husband always soothed her because she's traumatized. So she was saying that she said that after 30 years of marriage, that he would, she might be in her room or whatever, reading over some files, and he would come in the room and just say something like, "Baby, you want some coffee?" And she would just bust. She would scream because her father, well, I'm getting into all that, but she came from a very traumatic childhood. So she would scream because it's like he scares her. And he would just look at her and be like, we've been married 30 years and you still don't even realize I'm in this house and that I can just pop up at any given time. So she was just saying how he gets her, right? He soothes her. He doesn't judge her. I don't even know how I got on this topic here. But I was speaking about the fact that, she didn't expect for him to leave, right? Or even if your marriage is still intact, which is such a great thing, especially during these days. What happens when these children, because children grow up, right? Children grow up. So not even wait until they're off to college. You're talking about, listen, when they hit like that, 12, 13, and they got their own friends, they don't even want to be, my niece would be up under me all the time. Seriously. When she started hitting a certain age, I would be, calling her to see if she want to come over, and she ain't got time for me, right? My little feelings used to be so hurt. Right? What happens when life happens? They grow up, they're going, but who are you when that happens? So you now have children who are off to college or just doing their own thing, right? Maybe the marriage didn't work out, or maybe it did, but because everything was based solely around, just marriage life or whatever. Who are you? This is a question that a lot of people can't answer. But I stand firm on it's okay. It's okay in the sense of not knowing who you are now, not knowing who you are and where you are at a certain age. The reason why I say that is, again, society will make you think you have to know this by that age and this. No, it's when you discover purpose. Even if you decided to go that way and God was pulling you that way, that's okay. People get stuck there. Get your life back on course. Ask God to help you identify your purpose, how he wants to use you. Purpose alone will fulfill you. Everything else is an addition, a beautiful addition, but addition. You won't be out here desperate seeking this and because you're already fulfilled. You got choices. Your DM is DM. Speaking of DM, listen, I'm sure you're listening. Thank you for such a beautiful, beautiful message, my friend. Can't remember your name, but on Instagram, I just want to thank you for, first of all, being very respectful and just very complimentary. Thank you on that message. But I'm gonna leave that alone. But the point is, you're not out here desperate because you have choices. You have choices. Don't let society get up in your head and you got to sit here and think because you're this age or you look that way. This ain't no good man out here. Girl, there's so many good men, available men out here, that they can't find you until you are moving in purpose. When you're already fulfilled. If you're not fulfilled, you're going to drain them. Because you're still searching for something and you're going to try to find that something in them. They can't fulfill you. Only God can do that. I wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope this can help someone. You guys have a great weekend. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.